Welcome back to The Art of Relationships, where we explore God's design for thriving relationships. And today, we're stepping into one of the most formative relationships we'll ever have, and that is parenting.
And not just parenting, but how to raise grateful kids in a culture that constantly feeds them entitlement. So between social media, advertising, and peer pressure, our kids are bombarded with messages that say, hey, you deserve this, or hey, why wait when you can have it right now?
Yeah, but when kids grow up believing the world owes them something, it damages more than their attitude. It affects their emotional health, their relationships, and even their understanding of God's grace.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we'll explore how you can help your kids grow thankful hearts, not just through family rules, but through the rhythms, habits, and spiritual truths that shape who they become. So whether your kids are in preschool or prepping for college, this conversation is for you.
Welcome to The Art of Relationships. This podcast is produced by the Biola University Center for Marriage and Relationships. Let's get right into it.
Well, welcome to another Art of Relationship podcast. I'm Chris. This is Alisa.
Hello.
Yeah, we get to talk about fun things in marriage, relationships, Elise, and even now parenting. So let's do that.
Okay.
Let's talk about something that parents have talked about, forever and ever. But really the specific question that we sometimes get is, how do I create or get grateful children? It's such a powerful word, gratitude. But to instill that in our children, especially in a culture today, but a culture yesterday and cultures all over the world experience the same desire and want, and that is, I want my kids to understand gratitude. I want to provide for them. I want to give them good things, but sometimes they expect them, and the world tells them, oh, you should have this or that, and then they seem to sometimes, some parents struggle with, my kids have no idea how much we've helped or how much they have compared to everybody else.
We create the monster. We are our own worst enemy, or our kids' own worst enemy sometimes. Not by meaning to, but it's just a natural outcome when we give them everything, or we try to remove every hardship and make it too easy. Too protective.
Yeah, and so, when we're raising kids, I think, Lisa, the question that you and I faced was, we felt a sense that God had blessed us and given us so much. And one of the things that we kind of noticed was, the kids, we had 2 cars, we had a place of grass in the backyard where they can play. But oftentimes letting them know how important or how grateful we were for that, right? Or how wonderful it was to be able to go to school and to go to baseball and to participate in these different activities.
Some things they didn't want to do. They weren't very grateful about going to school.
No, that's right.
I don't blame them. I don't think I was either as a kid.
Yeah, so as we open this, we talked about what are some ways that we can teach our kids, right, this ability to have this heart of gratitude in a culture that sometimes works against it. What would you say would stand out to you as something we should start doing as parents if we want to instill that sense of gratitude into our kids?
Well, I think one of the first things that comes to mind is to be the parent or be the adult that you want your kids to grow up to be. So, and as opposed to telling them all the time to be grateful, how about if we role model for our kids what gratitude looks like, what gratitude sounds like? And so one of the places that we often did it was around the dinner table at night. So we would ask, tell us one thing good that happened to you today. Or we might couch it in terms of a high and a low. What was a high? What was a low? The highs we can be grateful for, and the lows we can empathize with. That stinks, but it does force your kids at that point. They know that question's coming at dinner, and then so they notice a little bit more.
Oh, that's great. So there are some little things that we that you're doing already that you can just incorporate into. So dinner you already have. we did that. I remember going, oh, let's pray for dinner. And we would always pray gratitude, right? I mean, that's what this means, Thanksgiving. And we have a whole holiday to celebrate gratitude. But what you're saying, what was really helpful was incorporating into that one additional piece, not just, hey, thanks for this food, but what's one thing you're grateful for today? What's a high? And I think that's great. That's a good way. Let's try another one. I would say one key takeaway that I would give for a parent is to what you just said. By modeling that, you provide the way in which they can see what you do, and that you're modeling a heart of Thanksgiving. And we did that at the table. Gosh, I'm just so grateful that today I was able to go to a job.
Yeah.
I have a job, and I'm so grateful for it, that and that we can have food like this, or we can have, these nice things, because I'm just so grateful I have a job. Some people don't, and they struggle.
I think what you just did right there was key. In our modeling is that we have to practice being grateful, right? And expressing gratitude. A lot of us can feel gratitude, but we don't always express it. And so actually taking the time to express it. But I think picking up in our own attitudes, the attitudes of, am I acting entitled? Like if my mail came and it wasn't quite what it was supposed to be. Like this weekend we stayed in a hotel.
Right.
It was a good solid C.
Right.
It was a good solid C. There were some things that weren't quite up to snuff that you usually have at a nice hotel, the conference that we're speaking at. And it would have been really easy to just focus on the things that we didn't like, right? And there were probably 4 or 5 of them that if you'd had a mind, it would have been a legitimate thing to pick up the phone, ask for the manager, and and complain. But there's a point where you start to go, like what you said, there's a lot of people that would love to stay in a hotel like this that never get to. Oh my gosh, I think we can be okay that the room wasn't serviced today. Oh my gosh, we had somebody to come in and make our bed and give us fresh towels. That's nice. And okay, they missed a day. That's not great, but to act entitled and call and be all huffy, that would be a great point in front of your kids to say, that probably should have been different, but you know what? There's a lot of people that never even get to stay at a hotel.
Yeah.
And so you do that with your kids.
Yeah, that's great.
And there's a lot of points.
No, that idea, Lisa, sorry, I don't know if I cut you off, but that idea of modeling in front of them is, this is like obedience. This is something you have to do every day, and it's something that you can struggle with, right? You and I walked into this hotel, and we got the keys for it. So, you have to get in the elevator, get out, carry your stuff up. Well, every single day we had to go get a new key made because it didn't work, right? Like,
stop working.
So we had to go all the way back down the elevator, go all the way down to the lobby, ask them, can we get a key that works? And then it happened again the next day, right? Well, that just simply means it's not always easy. It's a check, and sometimes are hard, because I'm like, why did you should figure this thing out. I mean, it's 2025, and I think you can probably have the technology to give me a key that lasts for 3 days. Okay.
And you have a legitimate complaint, because even with your neuropathy, it's painful to walk all the way there, go up, walk all the way to the room, then have to come all the way down, and then walk all the way.
Yeah.
So you had a legitimate complaint.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. Go ahead and finish that.
No,
thought.
just that. It's just that modeling is something that you want to be able to do with your kids. It's going to challenge you. This isn't, just telling them to be grateful for something. It's also, they're going to see it in your life, and are you able to, in the, the harder times, find the side of something to be grateful for. I think one thing that can help parents as well is to avoid the comparison game, right? Someone once said that comparison is the thief of happiness.
Yes.
Well, what that means is that sometimes in our modeling, we could see something that another person has. It's pretty easy to do that, right? They get this. I didn't get that. We see what maybe our kids their friends got and our kids didn't. Why did the teacher recognize that kid with the gold star and the student of the week? Our kid has never gotten this. And so that comparison game can really start heading down some, difficult paths. So I would suggest this: if you want to really raise and teach kids gratitude, is using it in tough times like that. Say, wow, but isn't that cool for Johnny that he got Student of the Month? Aren't you thankful for him? Or, these good things. And avoid that idea that they have something I want, and watch our hearts in that, because it's easy to see something that someone else gets.
Oh, it's very easy, isn't it? And there's some research that talks about when the comparison game actually is profitable and is helpful. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's different ways, right? That when the research is pretty clear in the area of happiness. And what research shows is that when people are dealing with comparisons, one of the best uses of comparisons is when we compare with people that are less fortunate. You did that. You said, gosh, not everybody gets to stay in the hotel. Not everybody gets to have, a place to go and spend the night. Not everybody has great new sheets or even a bed to sleep in, or a single bed for themselves.
Yeah. Not everybody survives cancer to be able to walk all the way, even if you have neuropathy. There are some people that don't have that gift of life still.
No, yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's not just small things; it's big. It's big things and small things. It's that. So I can complain that, oh no, chemo has done all kinds of bad things. It killed the cancer. That's good, but it's I can't walk well, or whatever, nausea, and yet, when I think about and read and pay attention to those who either didn't survive the process, didn't survive the fight, came out with worse side effects, it really does temper this comparison, or it really does help me with happiness and gratitude in recognizing, wow, I have some good things.
Yeah.
Some results that are really amazing and positive and wonderful, especially when I see this person who didn't have the same success or is struggling in a worse way, right? And then so with our kids, I think it's really being able to point out that, they may have, be able to go to Hawaii on family vacation, but let's look at, instead of comparing with that, let's look at these people who never get a chance to go on vacation. They don't have a good intact family unit, or they never get to go on vacation, and we get to go. I know it's just down the coast, or it's maybe up to the mountains, but at least and so comparing with the less fortunate is one thing. Also, this idea of looking out, I mean, happiness has lots of different variables, but when it comes to gratitude, that's one, that comparison game.
I love that. So what would you say, so stop the comparison game, you said. What would be another one?
Well, I think what it is learning to take pleasure in the moment is a very important, that is, there are so many times we just keep looking forward to the next thing and the next thing. And one thing you and I had to do with the kids, but mostly with us, is we're driving in the car, going from California to Texas or California to Colorado or somewhere in between, to get there to begin the holiday. And we would say, as soon as we get there,
it's going to be so fun.
Then we're going to have this holiday. And it's just fighting to get there versus learning partway through, like, wait, let's enjoy this moment right now. We're in a car, we're driving, point out the sights. And it's not like, oh, it'll happen as soon as we get off, the airplane and get into this location or get out of the car. Really, I think it's learning more what it means to enjoy the moments that we're in. And they could be in, like when I get to the beach, when I get there, I'm able to just Relax, then I'll enjoy the moment. And telling the kids, part of the journey is really where some of the joy and enjoyment can come in, is during the journey, right?
I love that. Sometimes I've heard it called living within the parentheses, that there's what happened in the past, there's what's going to happen in the
that's great.
future,
Yeah.
and then there's what's happening right now.
Right.
And if we pay so much attention at looking what lies behind us, or worrying about, wishing for, focusing on the future, we miss the life that's happening in the parentheses.
Great. Love
But
that.
there was who was it? Oh, Eric Little, the Olympic runner. What was the name of that movie?
Chariots.
Chariots of Fire.
Huh?
Yeah. When the kids were little, they were missionaries in China. And before the boys went back to school, boarding school in England, they were at like a lakeside time with their little sister, his brother, his parents, and just having a really wonderful time. And he recounted during a prayer time with his parents how his dad prayed. He said, Lord, we know it can't always be this way, this good, where we're all together and we're all enjoying each other and really thriving. So, Lord, for what we have right now, we're really grateful.
Yeah, that's good.
And that has always stuck with me. Like, Lord,
I love that.
when you were going through your cancer treatment, we didn't know what was going to happen.
All right.
But, Lord, we don't know if it'll come back.
Right.
And it could.
Right.
But you know what? For what we have right now, Lord, we are
Lord, just
very
enjoy
grateful. And so when you're thinking about your kids, it's more what's caught than what's taught, right? You can sit there and lecture your kids about being grateful, but it's going to be much more impactful for them to actually see you and hear you living it out day to day.
No, that's really good. That's exactly it, and that's kind of that notion of modeling. They're going to watch you, not necessarily always hear what you say. They hear it, but they're going to watch to see how you do it during those times. No, that's really good, Alisa. I think the other piece of research that came in was about, it's an interesting one. It's about setting expectations. This might be more for the parents and adults, but if we continue to set greater and more higher expectations, we're going to be prone to disappointment. Like, when we get to this point, or when we have this much, or when we're able to do that, or when we can reach that. And I think learning how to set realistic expectations, like that's kind of what Little's family did. Like, one day we want all the family to be here, all the kids, for our Christmas break and to celebrate and to have fun. And what he did was he set more realistic expectation. We're here. This is the time. This is in the parentheses. And it's more realistic, and I think that kind of leads to this greater sense of joy, happiness, and gratitude.
Yeah. And then as I think about this, Chris, there's a phrase that you use a lot, that when it comes to gratitude, you talk about if you change this one little word.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's one word. So parents, and for those that are just maybe not yet parents, but wanting to figure out a simple test, that is, go listen to your self-talk or your conversation with another person, and take note of all the times you say that you have to go do something. Like for example, it's not uncommon for me to say, I have to go get gas before I, drive any further.
Yeah.
I have to go cut the grass this weekend. I have to go to work today. I have to go have an appointment today. I didn't want to see somebody this afternoon. I have to go to the... And that word "have to" it can be changed pretty radically, in fact, transformatively for a lot of people, if they can just change that little phrase "have to" "get to." You talk about something powerful, like, so Lisa, I could say, instead of saying all the time, I have to go to work today, I have to go prepare for this, I have to say, I get to go to work today. And we challenged, I know myself and you have done this, and we've done it with each other, to oftentimes when we fall into that pattern of have to, we lose really what's something to be grateful for. It's like, I get to. Mom, Dad, I have to go to school today. I have to have a project. And you could say, kid, guess what? You get to. You're in a good school. You get to go do this. And it starts with the parents being able to do that. How many times then you tell your kid, hey, wait a minute, you get to, you're privileged, right? And then they say, I have to go to work today. Oh, I have to go, take care of your mom. I have to go do this. I have to go fix the car. I have to go shopping. I have to go do like changing that to I get to is a pretty powerful little phrase that can transform your hearts and the way you approach something, instead of going, so instead you would say, I have a job. I get to go to work today. I have a car. I get to go change the oil. I have kids. I get to go pick them up and go to their concert. I get to go watch my 4-year-old do ballerina stuff, right? Instead of I
get to pay bills. And it's like, well, you know what? At least I have heating and air conditioning. I have water and trash pickup. I don't have to go to the dump myself. I have to pay the insurance, car insurance. Oh my goodness, at least we have car insurance. At least we're able to pay for it. So I get to, that's really powerful. And I think it would be a fun way to do it with your kids is to catch yourself when you say, I have to, and quickly, I get to. And make a game of it. And when your kids start going, I get to, and they start picking up on the lingo and on the fun aspect of it. And when you do something enough and practice it enough, it becomes a new habit. And when you lay down that new habit, it changes your whole perspective in the environment of the home.
I love that. That's a great change, simple change. So modeling, right? We talked about living in the parentheses, changing that phrase. Have you ever felt that sometimes in marriage, like everything starts to pull you apart, and it's just not a coincidence, right?
Yeah, the Bible reminds us that we have a very real enemy who's been trying to divide couples since the Garden of Eden.
Lisa, I think it's why, and one of the things that led us to creating the Going Deeper Together Spiritual Armor Required. It's a 5-lesson course that equips couples to recognize the enemy's tactics and help you stand strong together.
And you'll discover the number one way the enemy gains an advantage and how to counter it with really practical biblical tools.
Isn't it true, Lisa? It's your spouse isn't the enemy, it's the enemy that's the enemy.
And if you want to protect and strengthen your marriage, this course is for you. So you'll find all the details in the show notes, so check it out.
Here's another one I think that is very simple. If you want a practical advice, parents, it's this. Start writing down one thing that you're grateful for every day. Keep it somewhere. Keep a list of something that you're grateful for. Right now, if you were able to do that, research in the psychology of gratitude has found that the most transformative gratitude projects that changes people's hearts of they before went in, they maybe complained or grumbled a lot or just didn't really think about this, was simply doing that one thing. Writing down something that they're grateful for and doing it every day. I love that. It's a simple little thing, and you could do it verbally, I guess, and I could say, Lisa, I'm so grateful today that you went and did all this errands, that you had all these errands that took that burden away from me. Thank you for doing that. I'm so grateful. And I could write it down in a journal and share it with you, or I could, and so when we practiced that at dinner, it was, what are you grateful for today? That's it. Just simply take that and say, kid, hey, go list everything today, one thing, just one that you're grateful for. Pretty soon. So we have our college students do this. And then we tell them the whole semester. We say at the end, you're going to have to write us a short summary of how it was for you to have to write down one thing a day. Some said it was so hard to come up with something new. I'm grateful I got sleep. I'm grateful I have food. I'm grateful. But then they just started to notice that they saw more things. Like, I'm so grateful I ran into a good friend today and we just had a quick conversation. I'm so grateful my car started, because in the past it hasn't always started. And it's pretty powerful.
It is, because it forces you to notice and to look beyond the obvious, because you do the obvious ones first, right? But then when you've got to write something down in that journal, you start really noticing the good things that you have in your life. I love that. And I think one really effective way with your kids might be to have slips of paper, like a little 3x5 card. And maybe you assign a colored pen or marker to each one. And every day that week, each day they write something down on their card that they're grateful for. And then you put it up on the refrigerator, or you tape it up on the wall, and you do it a week at a time. And the last day of the week, maybe on Sunday as the Sabbath, when you're taking time to slow down and recount God's goodness and his provision for you, is to look back at that wall and that wall of gratitude. Look at all those good things that happened to you this week. Look at all the good things that happened to him and to her. And wow, we really do have a lot to be grateful. It's a visual reminder day after day as you pass by that wall or the refrigerator, and then you know that you're going to have to write something now on that card. So you really start looking for things, big, little, obvious, not obvious. But it's a great way to begin cultivating that attitude of gratitude in your kids.
Man, that's good. That's a great little, it could be a fun game too, right? And then you go point out, let's go look at this. And even the little ones can participate, and write it for them. I love that. There are so many things that I think some couples and families, start to pick up and do, but these are some specific, really, I think, helpful, practical things that we don't always do great, and that's why we're talking about it. But they do begin to show up in small ways. When you're a kid, you start to notice, Mom, I'm so grateful. This poor kid, he struggles in class, and I hate math. I'm no good at math. I have to do math. And then I see him, and he it's hard, and he's not even able to do well in these other things. And so I'm just grateful that even though I'm not great at math, at least I can do some of it. And I think, you start to see that when a kid comes and shares that, you're like, oh, good, we're starting to catch this, and do it. One thing, another thing, Lise, that comes to mind for me is recognizing that I need to also learn to take the perspective of another person, and that I'm not always right. Meaning, sometimes I think for gratitude, I might interpret something as messed up or bad or not good, and kind of get stuck there a little bit.
Like, for example,
well,
what are you thinking?
For example, I might think that I'm not really grateful that this family member that we have it always sends out, the worst messages or texts, or are always so negative or critical, right? And one of the things I think that to be able to work on that, like, let's say there's always that troublesome person in our family, or your family or neighbors. And so, okay, a specific example is this. We have had a neighbor that was just so cranky and unfriendly. The kids would throw a ball and play baseball and whatever, kickball, and it would go over the fence. Well, if it landed in her yard, she just kept it. And she was mad. She would say, your kids are throwing balls and it's landing over here in my yard, and I don't like that. And so eventually all kinds of balls disappeared one time because she just kept them. And, I think making sure we had our kids understand her perspective, her view, And what
She was as old. It was hard for her to go fish it out of the pool. Yeah, it was a hardship, and you're right.
And you know, it was easy to see the log in her eye, right? And point that out and say, well, gosh, she says she's a nice person, but wow, she's so cranky and mean to the kids. But instead, I think we had to work on kind of seeing it from her perspective, and then what would be a better response than being angry and going and stealing them back at night, you know? So Lisa, you decided, no, I'm going to send the kids over there, apologize for throwing things over, and saying, we're glad you're our neighbor and we're sorry.
They took her a little flower.
And they took her a little flower.
They were
well, you know, that was seeing from her perspective and saying, we're sorry because we know that, you know, we try our best, but sometimes it just goes over and we're really sorry. And, she was just so...
It changed everything.
It changed everything.
That one nice gesture changed everything.
So it's kind of an example of teaching and modeling what it means to say, gosh, aren't we grateful that we have, you know, a neighbor that cares that much? Or aren't we grateful that, you know, we can, you know, maybe start to look out for her and see it from her perspective and be nicer. And she just really was without family. And so when the kids went over there, it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So let me ask this, what are some things that make it hard for us to be grateful?
I think maybe we sometimes see things the way we expect to see, and we see, you know, well, I never get the best, or I'm always mistreated, or
They're never nice to me.
They're never nice to me. And I guess one thing that we have learned, and I would challenge, I think, our listeners to think through is, be careful of that log in your eye when you interpret everything that way. That log in the eye analogy is fascinating. It's not a log. I mean, most of the time Jesus used parables, you know, that made visual sense, right? In a parable, you could see it. But the log in the eye always struck me as, I've never seen anybody with a tree in their eye, you know, that's what it means. But what he was saying is that tree is actually a filter. The things that have happened to you, your past, and it's through that filter that you're interpreting other people's behavior as bad or more negative when you yourself, right? You have this log, but you interpreting through that see the splinter. Yeah. Well, one thing, the way I interpret it would be, my log can get in there and block what I see because of my past, my perceptions, my history, my hurts. Yeah. And if someone is being nice to me, I might interpret them as being unkind or criticizing, right? Have you ever had a conversation with somebody, there's 3 or 4 of you, and you walk away and you start comparing what just happened, and you had completely different perceptions of the other person's niceness or intentions. Yeah. Like, oh, they were so mean. I can't believe they raised their eyebrow and said this. You're like, wow, I didn't see that at all. That's the moment to start going, what am I filtering through me, right? And therefore, I think it helps in gratitude is to explore, do I sometimes see what I expect to see? Is my filter that I'm being mistreated accurate or not?
Wasn't there a study that was done about that had to do with scars?
Yeah, in the scar study, maybe we've talked about before, is right here's this great little, you know, study in psychology where they put a great big ugly scar on the face of somebody with a makeup artist, and then they told these people wearing this scar, look in the mirror, and they're like, oh, that's horrible. They said, well, yeah, we want you to experience what it's like to have a disability or to be different or to stand out or to have a scar and have to walk around, and to see how people treat you differently because of that. So they put this scar on, they sent people out to the mall to walk around in public for an hour, and they all came back saying almost the same thing. Like almost 95, 100% of them all came back saying, oh my gosh, I had to walk around with this ugly scar. People just, they noticed it, and they seemed to be more cold, more distant, more unfriendly, like they were like aloof, like people have always treated me kind of nice and friendly, but this time they were like, oh, hands off, stay away. This, I don't like that. And I felt what it feels like to have this disability. Well, the kicker is, of course, not one of those 95%, 100% of people that felt that, not one of them was actually wearing a scar when they went out in public.
Wow.
Because usually way before they walked out, the makeup artist came over to them and said, hey, just a second, let me take this scar and put some more glue on it so it stays. And they removed the scar without them knowing. Wait a minute, so now these people walk out with their regular face, and yet they still saw people as more cold, distant, aloof, unfriendly, because they were filtering it through this what they perceived to be the scar, but the scar was nowhere but this tree in their eye. There's nowhere but this filter. And they saw what they expected. And it was with their normal face, but they said people were cold, distant, aloof. So were people, or were you interpreting their behavior more this way? Did you see what you expected to see, how people would treat somebody with a disability? If I'm always interpreting you, Lisa, more critically, the question is it because you're just critical, or is it sometimes something that I'm going, dealing with and interpreting your behavior, which was an issue for us. I think, Lisa, in that case, really what we have to do when it comes to gratitude is understand and recognize that sometimes I see God, my spouse, my children, myself, through a filter that can be off, leading to a misperception, misunderstanding. God did this. I got this disease. I got this trouble. I have this trouble in marriage. We have this.
Yeah.
And it's because of, and we could maybe see what we expect to see and believe that maybe God is this way, when in reality we need to kind of clear those filters and say, God, help me to see through your filter. Why did this experience happen? What good came out of it? What blessing? And how can I be grateful? And what can I use? How can I use this experience or this situation to see your goodness rather than misinterpreting, having a wrong perception? Right?
Yeah.
I think it could be a deep way of working on gratitude, of seeing things more clearly than maybe I'm using a filter on.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Right. So anything else you would give parents real quickly to help their kids and teach their kids what it means to be grateful in this kind of culture?
Well, so like help the parent whose kids really aren't grateful.
Yeah.
Like imagine that you're trying to coach your kids, but gosh, you've got one kid that's like, wow, well, how come they get to go to Disneyland? We don't go to Disneyland. I want to go to Disneyland.
Sure.
I think one of the things as parents that we can do could be to automatically go to there would be a lot of people that would love to go to Disneyland or that would love to have what you have. You need to be grateful. That I think one of the first things as parents that we need to do is actually validate their perspective first. And it would be to say, where I wish we could go to Disneyland too. That would be so fun. Sometimes I feel a little left out when people get to go do things like that we can't do. Is that how you're feeling? And to acknowledge that in the kids so that they're not stuffing their emotions, they're not feeling shame, but you're gently acknowledging it, validating, hey, that's a valid complaint. That's okay. I feel that way too. And then you gently start to coach them to maybe use another filter, as you said, that filter that's saying, it's negative. What's another filter that we could put in, which would be to compare to other people that don't have as much? What may be another response?
Yeah, I think another one, that's a great example because, Lisa, I think that happens so many times with our children is they see, something that somebody else gets. And before, going to, let's say, what's outside of Disneyland, that's
Or
free?
downtown Disney.
Downtown Disney.
Yeah.
Before, downtown Disney is perfect, right? And they're enjoying
all you
it.
know.
But
Yeah.
that's all you know. And so when we say, hey, we're going to downtown Disney, and we get to go for free and kind of, be on the outskirts and have fun, that's great for them. Until they find somebody that gets a family that gets to go inside the park, right? And then all of a sudden this cucumber, this thing that was good, is now being compared to this great thing, right? So how would you help a kid who's trying, and there, and I think you said, at least, I think doing exactly what you said, sitting down and saying, yeah, it would be good. We would love that. Maybe we should pray that we are able to go do that maybe sometime soon. Let's pray that, maybe we should start a savings account. Maybe we should start saving more money. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should start thinking through, why do we want to go there so bad? And maybe, we'll just pray that God allows us a way to do this. Or we would say, yeah, because we may not ever be able to go there. But what a cool thing that we have to be able to do, these other things. And think about all the kids that don't even have the opportunity to even go to downtown Disney. They live in Lubbock, Texas, and they wish they could be there, right? They have
down.
Yeah, or you don't get to go out on that nice boat that you see people on in the ocean, but at least we get to go stand in the sand.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in Iowa that go, wow, man, I wish I could see more than a cornfield sometime.
Yeah, that FOMO can be real.
Yeah, and I think it can be. So I guess setting realistic expectations, helping your kids set that, avoiding the comparison.
Yeah, I think another one, and that, this one as well. I think a lot of times our kids aren't grateful because some of the things they have, they take them for granted.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They take them for granted. They don't treat them well.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't treat
Toys,
Yeah, they broke them. They don't take care of them, and they take it for granted. And so then maybe a natural consequence to help them see the value of what they have is to actually put a pause on using it and remove that privilege for a little while. And that's never pleasant. That's not going to be fun. But boy, you can complain about that you have a flip phone instead of a smartphone until you lose your flip phone for 2 weeks. It's like,
Never wish I had any phone.
Yeah, I mean, it can be really grateful I have anything. And so the natural consequences in certain circumstances would be very effective.
No, I love that. No, I think that's a great way. I think you're so good at that with our kids. And sometimes you see kids, they have 15 toys and they play with this and this, but the one kid that grabs one toy to play with, suddenly the other kid wants it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where you navigate how to parent and helping them recognize, hold on here now. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's go back to the really practical aspects of this. We kind of touched on this a little bit. You talked about having them create the gratitude journal. I talked about having them write something on a card that they're thankful for, and for the week, just start lining those up under their names, along the wall, so they can see the things that are really cool that they have that's going on in their lives. I think another really powerful tool of teaching your children gratitude is writing thank you notes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And maybe each week it's just, picking somebody in their life that has done something for them. Maybe it's a certain teacher.
Yeah.
Maybe you really like your math teacher.
Sure.
For some kids that really get into math and they appreciate. So let's take a moment and let's write a thank you note to your teacher. Oh, we had fun that you're playing baseball. You had a great time. Let's tell your coach you think he's so great. Let's write it down and let's tell him. And let's give a thank you note. You got that gift for your birthday from your grandparent? Great. Let's be sure first thing we're going to sit down and write a really nice thank you note, because that is something that they are going to take throughout life. Is that lost art of writing a thank you note. And it's something they're going to need to learn and be disciplined about doing that, but it also helps them think about what cool things, cool people do I have in my life.
No, that's great. I love that. And I think another practical thing, the writing in the notes is just so it's easy to do, right? You can do an email or a text or write a card to somebody. A final one that I think of, Lise, that really was powerful for us and our family, even for me. Sometimes like a holiday is coming up and you have expectations of, what it's going to be like, and the food, and maybe it doesn't turn out as great. Maybe you didn't get your favorite side dessert that you always get,
or the activity didn't turn out as fun as you thought it was going to be.
That's fun. Well, one of the things that we were able to do for a while there with our church was to serve during the day of Thanksgiving people that were homeless, and being able to go work and provide Thanksgiving meals for people that didn't have a home, didn't have a place to cook. And I just remember the effect it had. It really changed how grateful I was for what I had when you work with those that you were able to go and volunteer in a homeless ministry, and you're going to change your sense of gratitude. Your kids are going to probably not complain so much about turkey or mashed potatoes or not having whatever when they're able to go and do some work with people that are in that situation, less fortunate. What a transformative thing for a family is to volunteer, to give away, Christmas gifts to kids that really don't get Christmas gifts, right? And then
Angel tree, that's a really practical.
it is, and you fill that shoebox up.
Shoebox of
And
love.
kids kind of go, well, I was complaining because I got a flip phone instead of an iPhone. I got the iPhone 13 instead of the iPhone 17. And then all of a sudden they're realizing there are kids who don't even get gifts. And we go participate as a family to fill this up. And I think that increases gratitude for kids, and it models, how to do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think of one more that's really easy to do. I would say, like, for this next week, instead of whenever you're out and about doing things, even though you're at home, instead of using the phrase thank you, change it to I'm grateful. Just like you go to the counter to pick up your fast food and you take it, you say thank you. Instead, you say, I'm grateful. Thank you for serving my
for
food.
you, for this food.
Yeah, thanks for picking up my clothes out of the floor, Mom. You know what? I'm grateful, Mom. I'm grateful you picked up my clothes.
So you said that because we sometimes use that word thank you.
It's a throwaway.
It's just a throwaway.
It's a nicety, and it's a throwaway, and that we just know to say, but we don't really, it doesn't engage our heart and our mind.
So changing up these throwaway statements
and
can be great.
change it to I'm grateful, and do it. Challenge your kids to do it for a whole week. You do it for a whole week, and then at the end of the week, come back and say, okay, what was that like for you to change that? What was your experience as you changed thank you to I'm grateful?
Wow.
And then process that with them. That's a great conversation.
It is. What a good one to have with your family, your kids, all of these little takeaways. Well, hey, thanks for joining us on this Art of Relationship podcast. I think it's been awesome it's a great question that we got to address. How do we teach our kids gratitude, especially in a culture like this where it's so full of things? And
I think we're teaching them and teaching our kids, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to, you don't have to have that perfect holiday. You have to have the perfect gift. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. And think about it. Engage your heart and your mind in what you're saying and doing.
Love it.
And that will go a long way to combating that sense of entitlement.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm grateful for Tatum, who runs all of this podcast from behind the scenes. It keeps the cameras rolling, keeps the batteries charged, keeps the microphones plugged in, polishes the lights. We should get some. We're great for you, for our listeners, and so you can check us out at cmr.biola.edu /podcast if you want, or just go to the Art of Relationship on any device
Platform.
and platform.
Social media, Biola CMR, for that daily encouragement.
Yep.
So thanks for being here. We're grateful for you.
We are grateful.
Bye-bye.
We're very glad you joined us for today's podcast. For more resources on marriage and healthy relationships, please visit our website at cmr.biola.edu. We'll see you next time on The Art of Relationships.